I've had this is the problem of a non-technical person working in the digital space. I have three devices and they all screwed up except this one, which was the one I didn't think would work. Look, I apologize for any confusion. I have a very specific element to talk about today, as you know, Carlos, and it's a very timely meeting. But I want to talk just before that. I want to make two general comments on the current situation that we find ourselves in. One on the global situation and one on travel and tourism. And let me just say also for you, Pascal, I spent the first 20 years of my life in IATA. So I'm very conscious of the issues that you've raised about having good standards in this area. If you're to have any system at all, our system is based on standards. And I heard the other day in one of these webinars that before an aircraft takes off, there have been something like 12,000 standards developed by collaboration of international organizations, of which you guys at IATA, I know this from my own time there, have been absolutely driving this ability for us to move around the world. And I also want to say I spent 10 years in international tourism organizations. I was the first president of the World Travel and Tourism Council, which is the global business council for chief executives of the bigger companies. And then I spent 10 years as a gamekeeper turned poacher or poacher turned gamekeeper as Assistant Secretary General at the UN World Tourism Organization. So it's against that background I want to make two comments. The first comment is every seminar and webinar that one attends these days, and I think if anything is increasing in today's global economy, it's the number of seminars and webinars. Everyone is talking about a new normal. And I just want to make a point, an overview point. The virus does not attend seminars. And we don't know what the future is going to hold for us. I think what we do know is that it's going to be an immediate 3 to 5 years of pandemic and post-pandemic adjustments. And coupled with that, and this is the issue where I spend all my time now, we have a much bigger challenge, which is a climate crisis, which is existential. And, you know, we have one pandemic. The experts tell us that when climate change really begins to bite, we may well have several pandemics which are occurring at the same time. Gases are being released at this moment in the Arctic that nobody has assumed would ever be released. So, you know, I make this point only to say that life is going to be confusing and brutal. And for all of us who want nice solutions, I think realism tells us we need to be very, very cautious. And the second point I want to make is travel and tourism is driving directly and indirectly 10% of the global economy. And, you know, it came to a banging halt. Every projection in everybody's book, even the most bizarre projections, did not assume this situation. So whatever is going to emerge out of it is likely to be quite different from anything any of us has known. And tourism, in a way, is a kind of, I don't think many people want to say this, but I want to be very straightforward. The virus loves travel. People moving from country to country are actually one of the most dangerous challenges. And the industry, which we are supporting and working in a positive fashion towards, is caught in this challenge of, on the one hand, it wants to restart, and on the other hand, quietly, realists understand we have to start in a way which is safe and which is secure. And to that extent, that's got to be the overriding determinant in the way things are going to develop. So I think we're looking at a 3 to 5 year stop, go, start, change, wearing masks in some places, not wearing masks in other places, and generally global standards, but all of which are going to be affected by activity at the local level. And this is going to be one of our biggest challenges. And travelers in this situation are confused, and they're going to get even more confused because the industry is going to be making pitches to them to try to get them to travel at a time when I believe we really don't know what the situation is going to be like. And what the travelers are telling us, or what I'm hearing, is they would like to see a world which is slightly different when they travel in the future. They would like to see a world which is not worrying about over-tourism, which is not treating people at borders as if they're sheep, which is actually trying to provide a travel experience of the kind that you see in the advertisements, but don't necessarily get, and we all travel, you know what it's like, you don't necessarily get when you're actually traveling. So it's against that background that Carlos and I have been putting together his experience in the travel technology space, and also his experience more latterly with from the human code about ensuring that technology is going to be working in the interests of people, and my experience in the travel and tourism sector. And we've created a company, Gianfranco, you'll be very pleased to hear it's a Swiss company, and it's called WIShelter. And I lived in Geneva for 10 years, and I miss it like hell. It's one of the great places in the world to live. So we created this company, and what we're trying to do is produce an app for travelers, a wise travel app, and it's going to contain, at this moment, it's going to be an aggregator. We're not trying to integrate different applications. We're trying to aggregate applications that other people have spent their time putting together and put them in one place, and we call it the app that you never want to leave home without. And it's got 7 pieces in it. It's got a secure wallet for all the information that a traveler will need on a trip, and that's protected by WiseKey's security. So that, you know, people aren't able to hack into the data, because I believe from listening to Carlos over the years, what he's put together is an incredibly secure system of data management. Secondly, it's going to have a unique personal protected ID. And we believe that over time, that will become used for moving people through borders more effectively, from some of the work that IATA is doing and WTTC is doing on trying to move people securely and rapidly through border controls. The third thing it's going to have is a health compartment. And there was already reference to the fact that in the future, people are much more likely to require the kind of things we all used to carry when we started traveling, that
I think we lost Geoffrey for a while. Oh, he's back. Go ahead, Geoffrey. I think the connection is getting slow. Geoffrey?
Passport that showed you got your vaccine. The World Travel and Tourism Council has put together a framework of information inside our aggregating application so that travelers will be able to see which companies and which communities are applying the standards in relation today to COVID and tomorrow to whatever else comes along. And they'll be able to make their selection of their trips and do their planning and make their bookings accordingly. The next item is going to have a carbon accounting system, because in the future, everybody who's traveling on aircraft, at least, is going to have to be responsible for their carbon footprint. And we have an agreement with another partner who is providing those services within the application. And this will have an advantage because it will give the passenger a personal carbon accounting system, as distinct from having to use a carbon accounting system which is necessarily provided by a supplier. And they may well get some benefits from that. Christina, in terms of data utilization, they will have the control of their own data. It won't be spread out amongst a lot of suppliers. And then we have an agreement with a group for a green compartment. 15,000 establishments which have been shown to be responsible and in many cases certificated will be available through this app. And last but not least, and the one most important to me, it will have a climate compartment. And we are producing in another organization that I'm working with a registry for climate neutral ambitions for travel and tourism companies, which is tied into the Paris Agreement and the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. And we will be registering companies who have carbon reduction plans looking through to 2050. So this is an agglomeration, that's 7 entities inside one consumer-facing application. And you'll also be pleased to know, Gianfranco, I'm calling it the Swiss Army knife of applications. It's going to have, when I was a kid, we used to say the Swiss Army knife even has a device that you can get Boy Scouts out of horses' hooves with. And we think that this app, which we will develop and work with partners, and Pascal, I would like to say we would love to work with IATA to put IATA's standards in there and bring them out to a wider community. And then finally, we will go out over the next 12 months and we will forge partnerships with people who are distributing their own applications to consumers. The banks, the MasterCard. MasterCard had an advertisement I saw the other day where they're enabling 500 million new constituents across the developing world to give them access to finance. Now, we'll never be able to do that sort of thing with our app, but for those of them who are travelers, we think it would be of interest to companies like MasterCard to partner with us and give them this traveler's app. So I'll conclude there, Carlos. I'm looking forward. We will be launching this within the next quarter. This is what I'll call we took advantage of the seminar, I have to say, to bring it into the public domain. But we're very excited about this. And, you know, to the extent that Carlos as a new Swiss can show excitement, but we're looking forward to really working with friends and with partners. And yes, there's probably a lot of money down the line to be made from the data. I've reached a stage in life where I'm not really interested in doing that. I think there are some different things we have to do. I think we want a healthier traveling ecosystem. We have to have a greener system. Every policy positioning is telling us that that's where the world's governments are going. The new European Green Deal passed this week. Joe Biden, please Joe Biden, has got a platform which brings America back into the world community on climate and on environmental issues. And we're very optimistic that this is something that will serve a decent purpose, as well as hopefully providing for our grandkids a little bit of money. So that's it.